want to give the other candidates a chance to. Oh, I want to keep doing with what I'm doing. And I think mutual aid, I find myself with what I'm trying to do in the other part on my own, but when I team up with other people, when I can actually work with my committee members to achieve. So that's my kind of my whole thing.
Yeah, hold on. I was going back into my mind palace. um, Mutual Aid Committee is the only committee that I am a part of because I believe that it is the foundation of all the other work that we do. And I deeply and firmly believe in empowering the community to build relationships and power for itself in order to join our movement and make decisions for themselves rather than having us as an organization come in and sort of impose top down, this is what's going to be good for you kind of leadership. And I have not done anything like this before, especially not in the DSA. So this is an opportunity for me to learn.
Alrighty. I am really passionate about mutual aid. It's the first committee I joined when I joined DSA. I strongly believe that we cannot wait for the socialist utopia. We have to start as soon as possible doing what we can. And mutual aid, I think, is one of the best ways in the interim until we can achieve like systemic change to make an impact in our communities.
Hello, mutual aid candidates. Hi, my name's Ian. I'm a member of DSA. Nice to see you all. So, something that I personally struggle with, but is just so important in a position like this is. The term that we use here is bottom lining projects, and making sure that people do what they say they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and like the managing people part of being a captain of a committee. And so I would love to hear from each of you, kind of your thoughts about how to do that relevant experience you might have. What's your vision for being the person to herd the cats, and make sure that that the play starts at 8 p.m.
So that's, I would say, would be my most relevant experience. And I think that for mutual aid, we have a lot of people who are very like self-motivated. Like they're very like one of the great things about it is that a lot of the times people are doing projects that they themselves came up with the idea for. So they're motivated to see it through to completion, and like whatever support the mutual aid captain gives, like Diana has done an excellent job at sort of facilitating that in her time over the past, like before the transition to this format where we have like even before she was officially like on the steering committee, I would say a very good job of like both like encouraging people like, hey, this is your idea, what is the next step, what do you need from us, like what are the ways we can support you. And honestly, that's something I would love to, like, if I am elected, continue to do and expand on, because I have found that to be very helpful for my own things.
I don't believe that there's anything that you can do to make someone do something or make someone do what they said they were going to do. And also, life is hard and unexpected, and things come up all the time. I think I would strive to, if it's something really important that people are relying on, I would strive to create an environment where people feel comfortable reaching out and saying, I'm not able to do this right now. I know I said I could do this, but I can't do this. And not feeling like they're going to be judged or not trusted anymore if they do that, so that we can, take that is what it is, find another solution for it, find someone else who's able to step into that role. I think that's the best way to keep it sustainable for everybody and to make sure everybody feels like their needs are being met.
I liked these other answers. I think I'm really not concerned about people changing their minds about stuff or kind of, making mistakes. What I'm concerned about is kind of what, Kay, you were just kind of hitting on, like people not then reconnecting and saying, hey, I need to step back from that, or I do need to, like people being afraid of us being judgmental or having some kind of emotional reaction to that, like lapse in judgment or whatever it is. So that's kind of, my style of kind of holding people accountable, which is, I guess, what that's like more or less my question is. I just reflect back to people. Here's what you said you do. Here's what happened. Like, do you see the difference? And I think I've made my peace with the fact that makes that person, or the kind of the point is to make that person uncomfortable. So I think that's kind of the type of strategy that I employ, is like just being willing to kind of sit in that discomfort with people, and then talk about what's next, because it's more important to me that we stay engaged with each other no matter what.
Thank you for that, Diana. I have a question for all three of you. So, as you all know, if anybody were to win this position for the foreseeable future, you would serve alongside the steering committee that represents about 5 other committees, and also would be coordinating with other members who are involved in some pretty serious projects. How do you see mutual aid committee integrating with the other broader goals of the chapter, and what would you do if there's ever conflicts that arise? Feel free to take a time to think about this one, but I'll give this mic to Kay to start with. Take some time.
To clarify, you're talking about like conflicts coming up between the goals of mutual aid versus the goals of other committees?
I would say more like disagreements on the steering committee, if there are questions about what direction something should go in, or what should be prioritized, because we only have so much capacity, we only have so much of bandwidth for all the things we would want to do.
Can you repeat the first part of the question again?
So the chapter has multiple committees that are represented on the steering committee, and also several initiatives happening at any one time. How would you ensure mutual aid integrates with the rest of that work, but also how to negotiate things that come up that might slow down what you would like to see done?
Like I said before, I do believe that mutual aid is sort of the foundation of all of the other work that we do in our quest for socialism. So I see a lot of ways that mutual aid can help other committees and ways that other committees can help mutual aid. We, strike support for labor or electoral. I'm currently working on putting together skill shares for street medic type training, so that community members are able to have like basic first aid training and protection, able to protect themselves and each other from things like tear gas, or rubber bullets, or whatever else we might come in encounter with, to help with protest committee. So I have a lot of visions for ways that we can integrate with the rest of the chapter. And in terms of disagreements coming up, I do believe that within this chapter, and with the ultimate goal of improving the living conditions for the working class, if we all kind of keep that North Star in mind, we will be able to come to a consensus about the best way to move forward. Maybe not everyone's going to be happy, but we can find a place where we can all agree that this is the best way to move forward as a chapter.
Sorry if this sounds a little arrogant. I'm actually going to, if elected, ask that some of the other committees come a little bit more in the direction of mutual aid on some of the ways that we do our events. I personally am of the opinion that mutual aid's event production is the best in DSA at the moment. And our accessibility is the highest. And our ability to kind of see what's practical so far has been the best that I've seen. I am also aware, just to be clear, that I don't always have the answer, that I, especially in terms of political work, I don't have as much experience. So yeah, my first priority is going to be thinking about people and trying to provide community care, because I see that as kind of mutual aid's role. And I will be trying to work with other committees to improve accessibility, to improve our ability to care for people that show up to our events. And yeah, I'm willing to negotiate and have conversations when possible. And I'm not afraid of long meetings. I'm not afraid of conflict.
Yeah, I am slightly afraid of conflict, but that is something I'm working on. Because conflict is important. Conflict is a way. Like I think a lot of people do not have this perspective, but I think conflict is one of the ways we can strengthen our bonds with our comrades and friends. Not just by getting along, right? Perfectly. Or imperfectly. Anyway. But I'm confident that, well, at least from my interactions with the steering committee so far, that by approaching with good faith and by using the grace that I hope would be extended to me, that we can find a resolution to any conflict of priority or way of doing the work that we all are dedicated to. We all are kind of moving towards the same goal of a society of care, and I believe in our ability to work together to achieve that. Oh yeah, sorry, integrating mutual aid. I think that I would like to work probably most closely with membership committee. I think that there's roles for mutual aid in many respects, but I think membership committee, especially with new member cohorts, mutual aid is something that a lot of people, when surveyed by the chapter, have said is a priority for them. And I think by integrating it into new chapter cohort work, we could both increase the types of things we're able to do with mutual aid. We can plug those new members in a way that's easily accessible, and often it's a thing that makes people feel good relatively quickly, as opposed to things like electoral work. Not knocking electoral, but that's generally more of a slower long-term process, right? Whereas mutual aid, you're helping someone, you're facilitating something, you see the result more or less immediately in some cases. So yeah, that's kind of one of the ideas I had about that.
Yeah, so because it was just related to what August was just saying. So basically our chapter has grown really rapidly over the last year. We now have close to 400 members, I think, getting there. We've done a lot of different mutual aid events, but the mutual aid committee is still relatively small, and especially when the chapter has 400 members. So the question basically is, how would you bring people in to mutual aid, new members into mutual aid, and get them involved? And since you, if you want to add more to what you just said, that'd be fine. Or we can just go to other folks. Here.
In addition to the new member cohort idea thing, I think that having someone on steering who's a part of mutual aid will make it easier to integrate like mutual aid into other things we're already doing and planning, which then could like draw more people to mutual aid, because basically people who come to mutual aid mostly, for the most part, stick around. I think some people come and then don't come back, but a lot of the times people who are showing up are people that we see again and again and again, because I don't know, I think we do a pretty good job of facilitating engagement that way. Yeah.
One thing that I would like to do is to sort of expand our mutual aid request board, add something. I'm a little bit spitballing. What I was thinking was adding something to the website where people can send in mutual aid requests, even if we're not able to, take every single request. We can get an idea of what people need in this moment. But anyway, I think that having that ability for community members and DSA members that might not be on Discord being able to directly request help or directly offer help. I think a lot of people want to offer help or just like random things that they have. I think would allow, it would be an easier way for people to understand mutual aid and know that this committee exists.
Fabulous idea. Let's talk about it later. I guess I want to say I have noticed a little bit of just sort of like a turnover, or that people sometimes do pass through and don't stay around, and I also think that a growing edge for me is that type of recruitment of like really kind of directly asking people to be involved in things. So I guess like I'll just say one of the things that's been weird about kind of stepping into the role of mutual aid captain is that it's not totally clear to me what is a part of my responsibilities and what's not. And it sort of seems to be that it is what I say it is, or something like that a lot of the time. So, I mean, I think my overall organizing strategy is person to person. I think that's where I am the strongest. So that would be my strategy, is just talking to people. And I am going to continue to do that regardless of whether I'm elected or not. But that's kind of, I think my best strategy is just doing one-to-ones, talking to people individually and making direct, I was at the women's forum today and I was like, come to meet mutual aid tomorrow. We're going to cook some stuff. And a couple of people said they were interested. So that's, I think, my, I believe our kind of recruitment strategy is people show up to something like a park cleanup or meet mutual aid. That's a really easy lift that they don't need to prepare for, that they might even gain and benefit from. And then they're like, oh, who's putting this on? This is cool. I want to be a part of that team. So I think that's what I'm hoping for, kind of attraction that way. But I would also love to increase my ability to just make direct asks from people, and also to get people, like I said, to take the mutual aid committee a bit more seriously than they have in the past. And I think that the creation of this steering committee role is going to do a lot of the lifting there.
right, and thank you, Evan, for the answers you're given so far. Yeah, I just want to raise, I think one of the things that we're seeing across committees is, as we're building out as a chapter coming up on our first year, is starting to develop ways to build out like a middle layer within committees, a middle layer of leadership, roles for people to take on to be able to have ownership of a certain part in a way that self-perpetuates onward, to really build out that capacity to bring people in. For example, I know membership committee just brought on Jenna as a tabling coordinator, as a way for someone to take ownership over that role, continue it forward, and help empower people to bottom line tabling opportunities. And so my question is, for mutual aid, where do you see opportunities to build out that middle layer, to give people opportunities to take something on, take ownership over it, with support and structure, but where do you see opportunities for building something like that?
This one we'll start with Diana. Feel free to take it. 20 seconds. Think about your answer.
I think that sometimes we forget how powerful it is to just give appreciations to people. So I think one of my best strategies is just saying thank you to people that do stuff, and being excited when people step into new roles. Kay is a great example of somebody who started bottom lining stuff a couple of months ago, and I was like, hell yeah, let's go. What do you want to do next? And that's like, I guess, I like the idea of creating some sort of other roles. Like, for example, we just passed the Neighborhood Networks directive. Having somebody kind of overseeing that within the mutual aid committee that's not Estelle would be amazing. Yeah, exactly. So I would love to see somebody in that kind of a role. I would love to see somebody actually maybe in an internal organizing role, just like actively recruiting for us besides me. And kind of making those roles explicit can be really, really helpful to just provide people, not just sort of like do something for the mutual aid committee, but do this, providing a boundary around something. So those are some of my ideas.
I think that mutual aid committee specifically is actually very good at this already, because of the structure that we have of sort of just people being like, I would like to do this project, and taking over the project on their own. That creates a lot of opportunity for people like me to be able to take on these sort of mini leadership roles. And it was very helpful when you were excited for me about that. I love when pretty women praise me. So I definitely don't want to lose that structure that we have. I do think it would be helpful if all of these little projects are sort of just like run by specific people under the umbrella of mutual aid. I think it would be helpful to have projects that are sort of taken on by the mutual aid committee as a whole, that is sort of longer term things that are built to outlast particular members of the committee, that have, a line of leadership for people to step in and know what they're doing if someone isn't able to continue their role in that particular capacity. I'm thinking I feel like the strike fund would be an important long-term project. Food distribution, would love to take back up again and make a really solid long-term project. Yeah.
So yeah, I really love both of the answers we've had so far. I agree that mutual aid does this very well already. Like I would say, yeah, Kay, Jenna, and Isabella all like I feel like have sort of had a similar, not a similar path, but you know what I mean. Like has started off with a small thing and then have really grown into leadership roles, which is really cool. I think that especially for long-term projects, we should really be not having one bottom liner, but maybe a bottom liner and a deputy, so to speak. Just because like I feel like even with things like me being able to like lead meetings if like Diana's not there. I've seen the benefit of things like that. And I think for projects, especially projects that we want to be doing, you know, annually or like quarterly, whatever it is, like really free market, things like that, that having like a partner, even just one partner that you know knows what's going on, knows what the thing is your dedicated person, your go-to person for when things come up, would be really important.
Make sure all three of you talk after this election. All your ideas are great. So as we get closer, into our election, I want to also open up the chance for members to do motivations for candidates. We're considering the last chapter convention. We're not doing negative motivations. Please keep them positive. Please keep them relevant to the position and the person. Do people feel ready for that, or do we want to continue with some more questions?
No, that's totally fair. Hi, everybody. For those not in the know, I'm Joel Berger. I'm the secondary co-chair of SoCo DSA. Hello. You all know me. Yeah, my main question, which hits very close to home, obviously for me, understandably so, is the question of how best would either of you fare under decent stressful situations. And this both includes understanding when you are getting to, for lack of a better word, a breaking point, kind of the overcapacity. Yes, there's a meme for it, obviously. We always talk about it. But the meme is real because the situation is real. The burnout is real. And it's not just in the how do you cope with that situation, but also how do you overcome it in situations when you know I need to be there. I can't just say, I'm over capacity, I just need to take a break, somebody else needs to take this for me. Unfortunately, sometimes, which is unfortunate, we do have to just push through. And what does that look like to you when you're doing that?
Well said, Joel. Shall we start over here? If you'll take your time, think about it.
So I'm a millennial, and unfortunately I have lived through multiple once-in-a-lifetime world events, so to speak, as well as, personal life stuff, which I won't go into. But, all that to be said, I have a lot of experience in operating under stressful conditions. And at this point in my life, I have developed a toolbox with the help of various other people in my life, many therapists, to where I am able to recognize the signs of stress in myself, have tools for managing it, and also the knowledge to know when I need to tap out, which is something that has been really crucial for me, because I also have chronic health conditions and pain management that I need to, if I get super stressed out, I'm going to be in physical debilitating pain. So for me, having to deal with stress and work through it is a matter of survival that I've had to manage my whole life.
I think I might be the only Gen Z person in this room. Really? Okay. I'm not a millennial. In this past year-ish of my life, I have gotten way better at recognizing the amount that I am actually going to be able to handle, and not just saying yes to everything because I want to do it. So not taking on things that I've gotten a lot better at not taking on things that I might not be able to handle when the time comes. in terms, there's really kind of no, there's no method you can follow that will be any sort of replacement for just not overwhelming and overburdening yourself. Productivity maxing is a construct by the ruling class to squeeze out our life. But definitely things do come up sometimes where you have to power through even though you're not in a place where you feel like you can. And when that happens, I try to prioritize and delegate. Delegate before it even comes to that, and prioritize maybe the day after I can't do the thing that I was planning to do, but this thing needs to be done, so I'm going to be there, and I can crash the day after, you know?
The question was like, how to deal with capacity and all that stuff. Is that right? I have made several mistakes about this in the past few months. I've been a little quiet about it, but I have ended up kind of on the floor some evenings. So I'm gonna just say I'm still learning about this topic, but I also am kind of learning how like to navigate, I guess, trying to set a tone amongst the committee as well, and also in the chapter. A few months ago, I remember kind of really leaning on the kind of capacity meme aspect of this and really trying to warn people. And I kind of feel like I scared people, and I regret that very slightly, because I would like us to try and find ways to say yes to things. But I think that my key word for this topic is sustainability. I really think that everything we're doing needs to be kind of run through the lens of sustainability, meaning, can we do this in 6 months? Can we do this, 7 times in a row? Not just the one time. And I do recognize not everything is going to perfectly fit into that, but that's got to be kind of the direction we're moving in. That's got to be like something that we're bringing into the conversation about every project that we do. How is this sustainable? And how do we say yes to things in a way that is sustainable, I guess. Yeah.
Remember, everybody, we're only human. Sustainability is crucial. So I would like to open up the floor, if people feel comfortable with that. For positive motivation. This is where we take the time to praise our candidates.
Can I motivate for another candidate?
Of course. I'm going to start with Joel over here. Sorry.
Hi, everybody. Hello. I have had the incredible pleasure of working with all 3 of these candidates, and it's every single interaction I've had has been just incredibly joyous. So I'll just go from my left to right. So, of course, Diana, we've had many, not only personal conversations, but we've also worked together on a lot of mutual aid and also not so mutual aid, but just like collaborating events together, and it's your energy has always been just absolutely booming. It's really helpful to be having somebody that goes like, yes, and I want to do this, and then you not only make it happen, but you inspire other people around you to keep that going. And obviously the work that you've already done in mutual aid without it actually being a steering member committee has been just incredible. So no, absolutely. Kay, you've stepped up in the matter of 1 year. You have done so much already. You definitely have a name out there in the membership of 400. People know you. People have been like, oh yeah, she's like great, like plant lady. Just kind of getting out there. Obviously, you and I have worked together at getting together on a few things, but definitely the most biggest one is the Southeast Greenway. I'm very, very happy that we started working on that when you just reached out to me and gone like, hey, Sonoma Wild's happening. I was like, I don't know what that is. And I was like, can you reach out to them? And then you did, and boom, we already have a tabling event. So again, it's not just this motivation, but it's this yes and I want to help, and then you do. And that right there makes an amazing member for DSA, an amazing community member as well. So can't say enough praise. And August, my goodness, I remember meeting you. It was the very first meeting that I went to. And then after that, we just I don't know, we always have amazing conversations. Again, like every single event. I mean, you're on steering committee already. But on top of that, it's also just every event that we go to and we're working on something, bread and flowers, or, any one of the mutual aid events, or the trash pickups, or even helping you move. Like things like this have definitely endeared me a lot to you, as far as not just a member and not just as somebody who's very action oriented and responsible, but also just as a friend. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you to all of you for actually caring so much about not just DSA but our community, because that's what you're coming out for, is for the community. And so no, you guys rock. Thank you.
Thank you for that enthusiastic motivation. Next up is Diana.
All right. I do want to say, Kay, I'm super, super proud of the work that we've been doing, and I can't wait to see what comes next. And so far, you've exceeded all of my expectations every time, and I'm taking notes practically every time we're doing stuff. So it's really cool to work with you. August, it's difficult to describe all of the stuff that we do together. But yeah, I feel like you have my back 100% when we work together. And from everything I've seen, you've really held up your end of all of the stuff that you've done. And also have been wisely, kind of cautious in some cases. And I'm also noticing that, taking notes about that. So yeah, I also just want to say that they're not physically present, but Jenna is such a powerful organizer. Isabella is such a powerful organizer, and both of those people also, I think, would do really well in this position. So I don't think that there is a bad choice on this ballot, personally. Jenna is running. Great. Oh, gotcha. Anyway, I'm excited. Yay.
So I believe Jenna has did offer to me to withdraw from the race, but I was also letting her know that it is still open if she wants to, put information in. I think she was on call all this weekend and knew she was not going to be able to attend this forum. But I think if we provide, we're getting to provide an opportunity to still, give in her two cents to these questions. And so if we're able to, if we're able to hear from Jenna, then great. She'll be on the list of candidates to vote for. If not, I'll respect the choice to withdraw. It's up to Jenna at this point, and her capacity. But I know she's going to be very involved in building out and making this chapter much stronger, no matter what role. Would say that just as not getting there.
Anyone else have any motivations? Well, I have motivations for all three of you. Well, so I am one of the chapter co-chairs, and I involved in a lot of different political work within the chapter, as all of you may know. I also oversee many different competing needs, and I will say each of you have done amazingly in doing your best to help move the important stuff in this chapter along. Starting with Diana, my partner, in full disclosure, has been very powerful and effective in talking to people, helping people feel welcome, helping people find their voice, helping people develop, helping people grow, being positive, but also kind of helpfully, constructively giving feedback, when those things have come up. I think she would be a phenomenal mutual aid captain if she were to be elected. For Kay, you're you are always so passionate and motivated to do the things that come up, and you love to get involved, and you love to talk to people, you love to build community with other people, and that's always been so helpful for everything that we do. You have a lot of great ideas. You're very passionate about getting those, looking to a long-term vision. So I've always appreciated that about you. And I guess I already work with you on the steering committee. You're, they listen to all the chisme that we have going on. But at the same time, it's like you're always kind of like a helpful voice or a constructive voice, or you're trying to like give positive direction. If things come up that aren't, is unpleasant to you, like you always talk about it and in a way that's well received. But also, you've always been very passionate and like sharing that with other people, new people, people who've recently joined. And I would see any three of you as phenomenal people to serve on the steering committee with, because all of you seem to you guys have the positive vision for building the world we want together. So thank you all very much for running for these positions. If I'm the last speaker, does anyone, I hope not to be, but does anyone have any motivations? Will?
I'd just like to say that, Diana, you really helped me a lot with what you were just talking about as far as like understanding your own personal capacity. And like, I feel like when I originally was going there, I was like, I'm going to do everything. And then I kind of burned myself out, and you were very helpful and like being like, that's okay, and come and do what you can. And I think that's helped me grow and hopefully be stronger going forward. And then Jenna's not here and maybe isn't running, but I would just also like to say that Jenna has just been fantastic with like all the logistical stuff. It's amazing how like every time I get in contact, they're just on it. And when I think I was like trying to get the stuff for, what was it, the Know Your Rights thing, and just the communication with everybody that was involved in order to get that done was just so phenomenal. So I just wanted to shout out Jenna as well.
Oh, thank you, everybody. If that is the last motivation, I would like to say thank you, everyone who's running today. Thank you all our wonderful forum members who've come to see this today. As you know, leadership takes all types of people, but also all kinds of people need to be present to help move that vision forward. So this ballot will be going out digitally. There'll be about a week-long vote. This is your time to organize your base. Talk to people. No, seriously. This is your time to talk about why you deserve to be mutual aid captain. Because we can't do it alone. No one here can do it alone. May the odds ever be in your favor. Do we feel like done? Do we want to?
I just wanted to confirm, I think I heard, but so there's an OPA vote that's going to go out tonight or something.
Yeah.
And then it's open for a week?
It will be like all of our other votes.
Okay.
Now. It will have the same period as our regular vote. This is just going to be a regular chapter-wide vote. It's going to be sent out. There will be a reminder email for people who haven't filled it out, which is automated by OPA vote. That's not something we can touch. It will link to the recording of the session, so you might be hearing this you might be hearing me say this well. It's already out, in which case you don't have to worry about it because you're already on top of it. But it's going to link to this recording, and it's going to link to all the answers that you all submitted. So people will be able to have an informed conversation, and there will be a forum in the Discord for people to be able to make motivations in favor and to bring up questions and potentially for ask questions for you to answer. Though I want to just caution people on this that don't feel like we don't want to make an environment where where our great candidates have to be spending all their time keeping an eye out for questions. Yeah, well, and also you all have lives there, and like maybe we'll find a way to make sure that you know when there's questions and you don't have to be spending every day engaging in discourse.
Thank you all for being here today. Thank you all. You're amazing. This concludes our 2026 special election for the mutual aid captain. Thank you all for being here.